What's up, guys? Shay Stevens here, PDGA number 77522, and today we're taking a look at the Eclipse R2 Neutron Hex. Let's get to it. Since its release, the Axiom Hex has been an absolute hit, with flight numbers of speed of 5, glide of 5, turn of -1, and a fade of 1. It's just a disc every player can use, from veteran to newbie, fast arm to slow arm. It'll definitely fill a need in somebody's bag. They're really hard to keep in stock, I can tell you. I know Foundation is currently out of them, just because everyone wants to get their hands on them. I understand why. Now we have a slightly cheaper version, thanks to the Gyropalooza pack from 2023. We have the R2 Hex with an Eclipse rim. I'm sure the stock R2 release is probably going to be coming to give players a slightly cheaper option to get their hands on their preferred mid-range. But I do have some side-by-sides here we can take a look at, comparing this to one of the more popular runs of the Hex, the Lozano. So let's take a look at those. All right, then taking a look at the side-by-sides here. First thing to note is the Lozano has a little bit of a higher parting line height, meaning it's going to be presumably a little more overstable. But there was another aspect I want to capture here in a different shot, the underside of the discs. So there is a transition from the overmold to the flight plate, but it is a little more pronounced on the Eclipse R2 Neutron Hex. It kind of finishes more bluntly, meaning as this disc slows down, it's going to have a little bit more wind resistance. Air's going to be checking it, meaning this disc is going to slow up, and it's going to have a good pronounced fade at the end. So even though it has a lower parting line height, it might have just as much of a fade on it as the Lozano does. So that's what I got from the side-by-sides. All right, before we head out to the field, I just want to preface, I threw this disc at night in the same session with the Detour, so we're throwing it at night under the lights. There is a slight tailwind, not really big, but noticeable enough for me to note it in the top left corner. And also, I'm throwing a little fatigued. I had spent the day playing with my niece and nephew, had a great time, but yeah, the gas tank isn't fully topped off, so I'll just take that into consideration, but let's head out to the field. And those are my throws with the Eclipse R2 Neutron Hex. Gotta say, I really enjoyed this thing on forehand. It just slots in so nicely. I was giving it some good pop, and I didn't have to worry about it turning and burning, which is a concern with lower speed discs, but was not a concern with the Hex, so that was cool. Definitely had that fade on the end that I was speculating about. I was hitting this thing nice and fast, and it was still having a good, bite at the end. I think on that big Anheuser, the second one I threw, I hit it with some good angle, and it still fought back and even finished on hyzer a bit, so, it's definitely not a flippy boy. The only thing I would say is a negative maybe is that I felt like I was just getting the Detour much further, like no less than 20 feet further than I was getting the Eclipse R2 Neutron Hex. And I have heard people talk about this. Comment down below if you've experienced it or heard it too. That R2 just doesn't have the same glide or distance potential as non-recycled MVP blends. I've never really thrown discs that are R2 and regular side by side that were comparable enough to really observe it, but this time, against the Detour, I definitely saw a difference. So definitely be looking into that some more. I do have the Eclipse R2 Neutron NV, which, if you know me, you follow the channel, I gotta play a one disc round with that, right? I do it with all the NVs and I've been throwing the NV since when I joined, when I started throwing MVP. So I know how NV should fly. So if there's something up with that, I'll definitely note it. But Yeah, guys, this has been my review of the Eclipse R2 Neutron Hex from the Gyropalooza pack. I'm expecting this to come out at the very least R2 Neutron. I would expect it next year. I mean, it's a super popular mold, and giving customers just another option for it at a slightly cheaper rate too. It doesn't hurt. So I think MVP will be putting this out in stock pretty soon. So keep an eye out for it. But thank you guys for watching this review. If you have any questions for me, reach out. I'll do my best to answer them. Take care. Thank you to my sponsors. For all your disc golf needs, check out Phoenix Discs and Foundation Disc Golf.